Good morning, guys. How you doing today? We are heading out of our pickup in beautiful Pennsylvania. It's a very pretty morning. It's nice to see a clear sky. I thought you guys might enjoy seeing me barrel through this quaint little town in my big old semi. It's tough in these areas with these narrow roads and narrow lanes to stay within the lines, you know, and it's obviously you want to make sure that you do that. You don't want your tandems drifting into the other lane, but sometimes it's real tight. I've got a pretty heavy load, and I'm glad for that because it is a very windy, very brisk day out here. And I'm a little bit concerned about time. I'm going to be super fried by tomorrow. That's a given. They set this the pickup and delivery time with kind of just enough time in between for me to get out there. I'm headed to Indiana to a Walmart DC, and those, as many of you know, have very strict delivery times. So it's not a window, even though this is a drop and hook. So I don't know if that affects it, but I don't think it does. They want you to be on time, and I obviously don't want my company to be fined or anything. As you can see, we got to make some real wide turns up in these little rural kind of areas. But I honestly really love driving through these areas. I mean, I know it's not the easiest thing to do. Sometimes it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but I enjoy seeing them, though. I enjoy the quaint little towns, and they remind me of places that I've lived in, too. Small town Illinois growing up. I lived in Marengo when I was a kid, if any of you are familiar with that. It's in McHenry County, up pretty far northern Illinois. We also lived in a little town called Cary, which was unincorporated, and that was really cool. We lived right on the Fox River. We had a lot of fun when I was a kid. We were just always doing stuff outside, trying to get into trouble. My version of getting into trouble was very tame. But yeah, I'm really tired. I'm having weird issues with my alarm, and I use my iPhone alarm, and it does something weird when you change time zones, where I have my alarm set kind of automatically for 4 a.m. every day, and then most days I try to get up earlier than that, but I just leave it at 4 because that's the time I have been getting up for a long time. Then I started trying to get up closer to like 3:30, some days 3:15, some days 3 when I really want to go for it. It does something weird when I change time zones where I will set it to 3 and it'll say 4 on the screen. When it goes to the sleep mode, the do not disturb mode, it'll have kind of a different screen, and it'll show the incorrect time. So I'll go back into the alarm feature and make sure, and it's still set correctly, but every time it does that, it makes me nervous. So I set a second alarm for 15 minutes later or 10 minutes later just to be on the safe side. Well, today the alarm that I had set for 3 a.m. did not go off, and that was that alarm that was being wonky. And the second alarm I had set for 3:15, thankfully that one went off, no problem. So I don't understand why it does that. It's a weird glitch. But maybe I should just try to do a restart on my phone when I change time zones or something. Who knows? I woke up out of such a dead sleep, which is really rare for me. I'm such a light sleeper, and I'm so programmed that when my alarm is going to go off or it's anywhere near that time, it's like my brain starts waking me up. I've always hated being woken up by loud noises, so I think my brain protects me from the irritation of that by just waking me up earlier. But today I was in a deep sleep when my alarm went off, and I was like, whenever that happens, that's when I know I'm really tired. I'm overdoing it. I'm worn out. And this load is heavy too, so it's going to slow me down some. So I'm a little bit concerned because the way the timing is going to work out with the amount of time I have left on my clock after getting loaded, I headed out of there pretty much right away. It didn't take me too long to get out. Loading time wasn't too bad. Let's see, I got there at 6:05. I got out of there at 7:30. And I have, what do I got left on my drive clock here? I've got 10 hours left on my 11, and the arrival time to the truck stop that's nearest this Walmart that I'm going to is 9 hours and 20 minutes. And I know I'm going to need more time than that. So I'm a little bit concerned about whether I'm going to make it as close as I want to. And if I don't, that means I'm going to have to get up even earlier. And I don't know if I'm going to end up running into issues with my 10. This is something that happens. Oh, and if that doesn't, sorry, I should explain that. If that doesn't make sense to some of you, that basically means that by the time I shut down my clock for tonight, I have 10 hours before I can start it again, and I worry that that's going to end up making me late. Someone's doing the math and being like, Janna, you're not doing the math right. And you'd probably be right, because math is not my forte. Don't judge me. Especially not when I'm this sleep deprived. I need to finish this coffee, and I think I'm going to need another one today. Isn't this a cute town? I love how in some of these old East Coast towns, they don't have like a front lawn. You just see the house coming right up onto the sidewalk, and for some reason it makes it feel friendlier, like, oh, you're right there. You just walk up to the front door and knock. Although I don't know that I would want my front door to sit right on a street like this, but just some cute old houses. It's pretty quiet, although I guess they get a fair amount of truck traffic because there is this not a DC, it was a beverage plant that I came from. There's a couple, but you know, they always have those types of industrial places not far from these types of towns. Kind of like where I went to school in DeKalb, what I was talking about in my last video. My last video with funny stories, if they come out in order. If I can bring myself to edit that video tonight and get it out to you, because I know I'm going to be fried. I'm struggling to climb this hill, guys. I'm doing 30 and it's a 45. I may need to adjust my tandems. I threw them at the standard 12, which I think is probably close to correct, but I'm not sure. I think they might need to come a little forward. We'll find out when I get to scale. But what was I saying? Small towns, DeKalb. DeKalb had a couple of factories. I worked in one briefly. That was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. I've talked about that a little bit in other videos, but and I just made a video talking about loneliness and trucking, and I don't know if I'm going to use that particular video or not, but I was basically talking in that video about how adversity in your life, if you've experienced a good amount of adversity, then I think trucking won't be as difficult of a lifestyle transition for you, possibly. And I'm a person who has experienced a lot of adversity in my life, and I've moved so many times. I've lived somewhat of a transient, I don't know if that's the right word, because I lived in some places for some duration, but I always use this as an example because I think it's an easier way to explain it. I went to 5 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, and 2 high schools in 3 different states: Illinois, California, Nevada. And I was like always the new kid in school, and there was a lot of stress going on at home throughout my entire childhood and teenage years, basically my entire youth. So I had to be strong. You know, I had to learn how to be strong from a young age, and I had to learn how to tolerate stress without complaining too much, because nobody was trying to hear that. I didn't really have people that I could get good support from. So I had to learn how to manage my feelings on my own, and I didn't learn how to do it until I was much older and had gone through more stuff as an adult. I didn't have good coping skills, and that has a lot to do with the times that I struggled my way through college, barely felt like I could get through it, took forever to get through it, kept changing my major, was terrified of school, terrified of graduating, all of it. It was hard. It was really hard. So in a weird way, I don't want to say trucking is easier, but the challenges of trucking are different, because I'm not fighting against myself so much. I'm fighting against outside challenges and stresses that don't scare me as much as my own head. Does that make sense? I bet somebody out there totally gets it. Yeah, I know somebody totally gets it. I know a few people who definitely get it. I noticed in the video I filmed yesterday that sometimes I think it looks like I'm driving much faster than I am. I'm doing 50 in this 45 right now. I'm trying to manage my speed, and as you drivers know, when you got a heavy load like this and you're on hills, it can be a little tricky. So it's a game of speed up, slow down, and trying not to be too crazy about it, and also trying not to infuriate anybody who is unfortunate enough to be stuck behind you. Isn't this so pretty, guys? Look at this. This is why I like driving in Pennsylvania. It's so beautiful. It's a beautiful state, especially when you're used to living in a flat land type of place. What else was I going to tell you guys? Yeah, I'm worried they might have to change this appointment time tomorrow morning. And the thing about that is, okay, so let me tell you about my company now, this particular challenge that I have with them, and the company I'm going to, and how I anticipate it'll be different. I hope it will. This company, every load is planned like piecemeal, it seems like. So they will have, and not every load, but like they'll have you on a load, and then sometimes they'll have the next load assigned, or they don't always show it to you, but they might have it already plotted out, and then they're waiting to see how long you'll take at a shipper and stuff. And I'm sure that's pretty typical. I'm not like at all trying to say the way they do it is bad or something, but I think there's a lot of different ways to do planning, and I don't think that the people that do our planning are the best at it, at least not from my limited experience. I mean, who am I to judge, because I'm a newer driver and inexperienced, but I think it's people doing that kind of work who definitely don't have driving experience, so they don't have empathy for the driver's situation, and they don't have a good understanding on the ground of like how long things actually take, how long you need to build into a plan for brakes. And I also think there's some people who definitely are better at it than others, because I've noticed there's times when they set it up and it's like, oh yeah, okay, they gave me this cushion time that gives me enough time to take my 30-minute break when I'm required to, and to, have enough times to stop and get out of the truck and stretch my legs. I have received messages like DMs from people I've communicated with here and there that sort of pride themselves in not getting out of the truck, and like guys who, keep driving and pee in a bottle and all this other stuff. And that to me is like not even how I would want to live. And it's not judging. It's that the way my body works and the way I feel about my health, I don't want to never get out of the seat. It's really bad for your body, especially for when it comes to circulation and risk of blood clots. I don't feel like it's a point of pride to drive for like 8 hours without stopping, or 4, 5, 6 hours without stopping. The most I drive without stopping is like 3 hours, and that's a long time. And that's not healthy, but obviously I do try as best I can to be efficient and stay on the road. And one thing you learn if you're a prospective or new driver, one thing that will really kind of you'll figure out quick is that it's crazy how much longer stops take than you think they will when you're in a truck. Because being in a vehicle like this is just inherently inconvenient. So you have to figure the time it takes to just pull over and park that truck. In some places you're going to need to take the time to back into a spot because it's just going to be better. You don't want to be blocking surrounding traffic or anything like that. And you always want to be courteous to other drivers. At least that's the way I operate, and that's the way I hope new drivers getting out there keep their mindset like that. Like, let's think about each other. And part of the reason for that, I'm sorry I'm tangenting here, guys. I need more caffeine in my bloodstream right now. Part of the reason why you want to think like that is because you're going to notice times when other drivers did that for you, when they showed you courtesy, and it makes such a difference that you want to be that person too. You want to take pride in being a person out here who goes out of their way, maybe inconveniences themselves sometimes, to make things a little bit easier for the other driver. I'm not saying to be a martyr or anything, but just be nice. Recognize that it's hard for all of us, and the little things make a huge difference. You see lots of no truck signs out here. Basically, it's one of those things where we're in a little town. I don't like this turn because it is blind. I cannot see to my right at all. So I really hope no one's coming. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. You can't see until you've already initiated the turn. It's just a weird angle. And you can't really see before the approach either. That's just the thing. There's places like that, and you have to hope that the drivers in that area are attentive to that there's going to be trucks turning from there. Wow, I'm all over the place, guys. I hope I'm not making you crazy with my conversation being all over, but yeah, I was talking about planners scheduling stuff, and the way that this particular plan was put together, I'm pretty sure that it's gonna cause an issue with me being able to be on time. And you never want that. You know, you want the planners to schedule an appointment in a way that makes it so that you don't have to like freak out about whether you can make it on time. You want there to be a little extra cushion so you can definitely be early. And in this case, I'm not going to be able to be early, I don't think. So when I say they set up the jobs piecemeal, it's like, you know, I'll set out on Monday, they sent me to Pennsylvania. I have no idea where I'm going to be going tomorrow. Well, they sent me to Indiana, which means they're getting me closer to my home terminal so that I can get back there for my home time on the weekend, which is good. So the difference with the company that I'm going to, and one of the reasons why I think it's going to be a better fit and why I'm feeling optimistic about it, is that they plan for a week at a time. So they set up a route that takes a 5-day trip with your stops already planned within that. And as long as you make your appointment times, they don't care how you route, which is really cool and really different from where I have been, because this place is very micromanaging when it comes to routing, and they make you go to specific fuel stops, which as a driver can be a real source of stress, because that also affects like how you're able to manage your time. And when you're having those things set up by a computer, which that's what it is, they basically put in your destination, and then the computer generates where the fuel stop is going to be based on prices. And that's how they try to save money. So I get that, you know, when you have a large company, you figure every little bit you can save on fuel is everything, you know, so they really pay a lot of attention to that. But then I'll tell you something else that I think is like not helpful when it comes to that. But I'm looking forward to having a 5-day route. So I know ahead of time where I'm going, and then you're going to be going to the same set of places pretty much regularly. And I think that you can ask, you know, can you send me here? Can you send me there? Can you send me on this particular route? And you might be going to different customers on those routes each time, but you're going to the same cities, which I think is awesome. I love that. There's a certain level of predictability, but it's not so like, it's not necessarily monotonous. They also, one thing that's really cool is this company is a small Midwestern company, much smaller than what I'm working for now. They have their own brokerage company. So their freight is dedicated for them. They're never light on freight. What they have extra for freight goes to owner operators that they work with, but their drivers don't sit and wait around for loads. And I can't tell you the number of times that my company has given me the excuse of, oh, we're light on freight for why I'm sitting or whatever. So that's encouraging. That makes me feel better knowing that it seems like the place I'm going has its stuff together, and it's a place that is very well established. They've been around for a long time, about 40 years, I think. One of the things that sold me on this company, aside from a good friend of mine who had done a bunch of research and was looking at going there himself, I ran into one of their drivers on a job, and he said, I asked him how he liked working there. I said, my friend is thinking about going there. And he said, without hesitation, he's probably a roughly 60-year-old guy who's definitely been driving for a long time. He said, you won't find a better company to work for. And it didn't sound salesy. It didn't sound like he was trying to use some kind of a line. It sounded really genuine and just instantaneous. Like that was his real feeling. And I was like, wow, that's I've never heard a truck driver say that about their job, because a lot of us have a lot of stuff to grumble about on these jobs. So that was cool. That was really encouraging, and I thought, okay, let me look into it. This is the right time. I have found that when I'm ready to make a move, things always seem to line up in a way that it's almost like the next move is being pointed out to me. I don't have like any type of specific strong belief system that I adhere to, but I do think that things tend to, opportunities tend to show themselves at the right times if you just are open to them. And if you sort of keep your mind open that I'm ready for a change, and you sort of put that energy out, if you want to think of it as saying a prayer, or if you want to think of it as a wish or a mantra. I like the idea of mantras, I guess, which kind of aligns with my yoga practice. But I believe that good things will come to you when you put yourself in a healthy headspace, when you try to be good, do good, think good thoughts, as my dad likes to say. When you think about others, when you have positive goals where you're not trying to hurt anyone or take anything from anybody, but you're trying to better yourself and be a source of positive energy in the world. I feel like the word energy gets thrown around and it can be kind of cheesy, but I think that when you do those things, the right opportunities tend to show themselves. So I'm too tired to keep talking. I'm going to let the camera roll, hopefully get some pretty footage for you guys, put it to some music. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. There's one more thing I want to tell you, and then I'll do that. Last night I got to the truck stop that I was going to stop at for the night, and I knew it was going to be really congested. I got there at like around 5, which is too late. I wish I could have gotten there a little earlier. I knew it was going to be really congested there. And I chose a spot to back into. There's one of those truck stops that's just not very well designed, like many of them. And it's a very high traffic truck stop, probably at all times. Yes, at all times. Because even in the early morning hours when I was just getting up and it was still pitch dark outside, and it was, there was still trucks coming through. It wasn't anywhere near as busy as it was around 5 p.m., but it was still steady traffic coming in. And I was trying to get into a spot that was directly in the way of people coming into the truck stop, and it was just non-stop people coming through to fuel, and that was really frustrating. And I just had to sit and wait. I tried to get out of the way and let people sort of go around me, but the spot was that truck stop was so tight that there's no really good place for you to sit and you're staging yourself to get into a spot. People know that's what you're doing. You got your flashers on, you're just kind of sitting there, people trying to go around you, they know. But it sucks because then they don't have as much room to get around, and you don't want to be in their way, and you don't want to hold them up because that's going to ultimately hold you up. So it's just, man, it was really frustrating. And then this young guy came over to my window and he's like, "Do you want help?" And I thought that was really nice of him. He was just trying to help, and he wasn't trying to like be a mansplainer or anything like that. He was just like genuinely asking me because I think he could probably tell I was frustrating. That was another thing. I was, had been going for like 12 hours about, and I was really fried. And I hate trying to back my truck in a truck stop when I'm that tired. At least it was still light out, but I was just too tired and I didn't feel like it. And I always take forever to do it. And that stresses me out because then people think I'm struggling and they want to help. And it's like, I really can't help. I can't receive help when I'm like that because it actually will make it worse. My brain is, I need to just take my time and do it. And it might take me a couple different times to set myself up right before I get it. But it's better than having someone help me. So a guy came over and he was like, "Do you want help?" And I was like, maybe, but not yet. Because I said, my brain is really fried and I don't think I can, I think that'll throw me off if I have someone help me. And he was, I don't know if I hurt his feelings or whatever, because he seemed like maybe he was a little put off by that. But then also I had to sit and wait for so many trucks to go around me before it was clear for me to attempt the back. And I didn't want to just make it an awkward situation. So I ended up doing the back. It took me I think on the third try, I had myself lined up just right and I got in the spot. No big deal, Then this morning, I saw this guy next to me at the fuel island, and I recognized him from the night before. It wasn't the kid that tried to help me. It was an older gentleman. And he just looked at me and he goes, "You did the right thing." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What is he talking about?" He's like, "Last night when you were parking, you were right. I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, yeah, I didn't want to make that guy feel bad. I just was too tired, to get help. Sometimes I just can't have someone help me. And he was like, oh, I know, he totally got it. And, it made me feel better. And for those of you who are watching this who are new drivers or prospective drivers, I hope that gives you some reassurance that when you go to park in a truck stop, I was so terrified of it when I first started driving, so scared, with good reason, because I didn't know what I was doing at all. And you don't want to be in the way of people. And then, I was driving a split axle, so I really struggled with it. And I was worried about blowing out the tires in the front axle of the rear axles, if that makes sense. I don't know how you say that. But actually, last night I saw a Melton driver, flatbed, back a split axle, and he did such a good job. And I just wanted to be like, good job, guy, because it looks so stressful. He did a great job. But one thing you figure out is when truck stops are crowded, especially, there's always people watching you back. And there are people who are jerks who are going to film video and put it on some jerk YouTube page that I won't even name so they can make fun of people who struggle, which I think is rude and stupid. Instead of watching someone struggle and filming it to get your jollies, why don't you get out and ask them if they want help, but people can always tell if you're not experienced when you're backing your truck. I probably look like I'm really inexperienced when I'm trying to back when I'm all tired, and that's probably why people offer to help me. And I'm a woman, and guys want to talk to women. Let's face it, that's a little bit of it. But if you're having a hard time, don't hesitate to ask somebody to help you. Make eye contact with somebody that you see is watching you. Ask them. Even just ask them if they can watch and make sure you don't hit something, or honk their horn if you're going to hit something. It really helps, and you're not alone. Everybody gets it. Most of the people, I would like to think, the majority of truckers that are at truck stops are not jerks. They want to help when they see someone having a hard time. And when I say the majority, maybe that's a little over 50%. Maybe it's not like most of them, but there's a lot of great people out there, a lot of good guys out there, and others. But I've been really encouraged by that. It makes me feel better. You're not alone out there, and don't beat yourself up when you're struggling, because we all struggle. Even those of us who have more experience. I have a year, I have a ton of experience, but even those of us who have experienced, people I've talked to who have 20 years of experience, still have a hard time backing their truck sometimes. When you're tired, it's dark, it's not easy. So, okay, that's enough yammering. I will let you watch the scenery, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope you feel good today, and enjoy the view.